Today we make our Stevie Bird. It's so blimmin' easy, it's really absurd. So grab hook and yarn and a cup of tea, and you can make a Stevie Bird with me. Now it's time to make more of Stevie Bird in part 2. La 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 la.
I've picked this bright pink because I'm Larry and I love colour. I love colourful bright things. So I'll move all that stuff off to the back. First we start with a magic ring. Do you know how to do a magic ring? You can watch my tutorial video that I also have on magic rings, but basically what I do is I wrap the string around my finger like that, slide the hook in, pick up the other yarn. This is the long working end of the yarn, pull it through, and I kind of then yarn over and pull that through, and that kind of firms and knots that magic ring. And then I start working 6 single crochets into this ring. So yarn in, pull through that yarn, 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now you grab your tail end thread and you pull it so that it's almost completely closed. You've got like a little mini horseshoe. You see the mini horseshoe? Oh, this camera, seriously, it's not going to focus. That's ridiculous. Okay, so we've got a mini horseshoe here. With amigurumi, you constantly work in spirals. You don't finish, if you're working in the round, you don't actually finish the row and then chain 1 and move up. You just keep working in spirals. So you need to find your first single crochet that you made into that magic ring. And the reason why we don't pull this magic ring completely tight is because it can make it a bit too hard to work into that first single crochet. So into this first single crochet, and in each of the 6 single crochets of the first round, we're going to do 2 single crochets into each stitch. So giving a total of 12. So I'm going to go 1, that's 2. What I'm going to quickly do is get my stitch marker, and they're cute, and hook it into the first single crochet of this second round. Oh God, you're a pain. Okay, there we go. So there was 1, 2, there's the first one there. And then we know we're going to work 2 in each, or a total of 12 stitches into this second round, but it just helps so that we don't, if you lose count, it is so easy to lose count when you're working in the round. And you don't want to hear me constantly counting, although you will. I'll probably do some more counting. I hypnotize you all into counting all the time. Alright, that's, whoops, 9, 10, annoying when that happens, 11, 12. In round 3, we're going to work alternately of 2 single crochets and then 1 single crochet. So in the first stitch, I'll repin, we're going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, two single crochets in the next stitch, then 1 single crochet in the stitch after that. See how we're going? It's like 2 and 1, 2 and 1 all the way around. So this means we are increasing 6 times in this round, So in the previous round we ended up with 12 12 stitches. In this we will have a final stitch count in this round of 18 stitches. Okay, now we're up to round 4. Well, nearly lost it. Let's give myself some more string. And in this round, I'll do my first stitch. We'll actually, remember the last one, it was 2 and 1. This is going to be 2 and 2. So it'll be 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Stitch marker back in the first stitch. I just did 2, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Round 5. What we're going to do is, so now you have it in that round, you have a total of 24 stitches. Round 5, it's the last increasing round. And so this is going to be, there's my first single crochet. Where's my stitch marker? There we go. Come on, little guy, in you go. Clip. So you do 2 single crochets in this first stitch, and then 1 in each of the next 3 stitches. So we've got 1, 2, 3. So let's see how close I can get. So we've got 1, 2, and in the same stitch, and then 1, 2, 3, 1 in each of the next 3 stitches, and that's how we'll work in pattern around for the rest of this round. And remember, this is our final increasing round. Okay, so we're at the end of round 5. Now we have, I'm just sort of giving myself a bit more yarn here. I'm going to tighten up that magic ring. There you go, can't see it now. Now from rows 6 to 11, it is simply 1 single crochet in each stitch. No more increases. My tip to you would be to remember to always use your stitch marker, because my golly, it's so easy to get lost, forget where the beginning of your row was. So it's basically 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 6 rows now of single crochet around, and so you don't have to watch me do all 6 rows. I am going to, I think I'm going to kind of I'm not going to fast forward it through, I'm just, because it can take a long time, and I'm just simply going to cut to the end. Remember guys, you can pause this video, work through your 6 rows from 6 to 11 of single crochet, and then come and meet me at the other side, and by that stage we will be ready to fit our little eyes in and make our beak for Stevie Bird. Won't that be cool? We'll all be caught up together. Alright, don't fear, just remember it's single crochets all around, 1 in each stitch, and it'll start to get that really cool, like if we look at this guy, it'll start to get a really cool kind of dome. It just start working straight down and get that dome shape. Alright, see you in a little bit. Hey possums, I'm back. Gosh, it seems like ages ago since I last spoke to you, which it was actually probably about an hour. I've had lunch and finished doing my head. Have you finished doing your head? Have you got now, you should have a total now of 11 rounds for your head, and now that is it finished for the head. What we'll do now, I'll just remove my stitch marker, which marked the beginning of round 11, and I'm going to snip. I'm going to give myself, because we do sort of use actually for this part of the tail end of this to sew the head partially onto the body. So I kind of give myself a good 6 or 7 inches, because we all need a good 6 or 7 inches. And then I'm going to tie this off. Actually, what I'll do first is, because see how I've finished the end of the spiral there, just to kind of make it a bit smooth, I'm going to slip stitch into that next stitch, but like a slip stitch, and then sort of do myself a little knot. Finished. What happens now? A couple of things. One of the first things is eyes. We need to stick his eyes in. The positioning of the eyes, fun and games. The eyes are positioned between rows 8 and 9. And how I kind of do it, if you look at the string here, what happens is, I'll get one of my Stevie Birds here, is I tend to put this string, this leftover yarn thread, to be more correct, so that it's going to be about, would you say that's like, is that about 10 o'clock? About 10 o'clock on the play school clock up around here, and then position the eyes accordingly, because when I start sewing the head together, I sort of start from here, I stitch it around, because the back and the back and the body will be stitched up by that stage, and then you put the head on last. But I stitch from here around, and then I leave a gap at the back there for stuffing. So that's why I kind of, when I position the eyes, I have it so that this tail end is sort of at this position here. So then what we do is we count 8 rows. So we go, let's see, let's use my hook so I can point, my magic pointer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's row 8 right along here, and here's row 9. So we're going to stick the eyes in between these 8 and 9 rows. So keeping in mind, if we do it here and we stick the first eye about, where's my other one? Yeah, about there, about there-ish. Make sure it's sort of even. Gosh, I lost count of my eyeballs out of my rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's in here. Alright, so we'll position I1 in between rows 8 and 9. Like that. Actually, I should not go. I should go like that. Now, there is 10 little gaps in between each eye coming along the front. So we're not including the hole that you stuck the eyeball into. We're starting from the next little space in between the crochet. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish, 8, 9, 10. Now there's that 10th hole. Watch what I'm doing here. I'll just do that. I don't normally leave this hook in just to show you, but then in the 11th, that's where I'm going to stick his other eye. Hang on, I'll just remove that. So in the 11th hole on the fairway. Alright. Whoop. See that? And then to secure it, you'll need to pop these little backs on here to hold them. I am not going to just simply go, look, this is how we do it, and it sits on nice and easy, because it doesn't. It's actually, they're called safety eyes for a reason. It's really hard to get this backing on, and it will involve teeth, and you don't need to see that, trust me. So I'll do that in a minute. But what we're going to do now to finish the head is we're going to make the beak. So what colour should I do? What should I do the beak? Let's make the beak. Let's make it, maybe should we go teal? No, let's go light orange. Light orange, yeah, that's kind of cute. No, let's go dark orange. Bang, let's make a dark orange beak. Okay, sorry, I'm bashing the camera with the wall here. Yarn, sorry, people get really anal about whether it's called yarn or wool. I'm a bit old school. Okay, how to make the beak. Starting with the colour, and whatever colour I do the beak, this is what I also tend to do the feet in. Like, look at this guy. He's got a nice soft yellow beak, and then, or sorry, deep or soft orange, and then soft orange feet. And then this guy also, like, he's got light blue and then light blue feet. Okay, starting with, we're actually going to start with a chain 3. So this is very quick to make, but a bit fiddly. So a chain 3. Oh, come on you. 1, 2, 3. Now work 5 double crochets into the first chain. And I'm using US terms because that's the way I was taught, using US terminology. It sort of makes a bit more sense to me than the UK Australian terminology, but I am frequently flayed by my fellow Australian crocheters for being unpatriotic to crochet terms, but you know, too bad. I eat enough Vegemite for any Australians, so they can just suck it. 1, 2, 3, 4, now 5, that that first chain that you're working into will keep opening up, but you can keep pulling that closed. Now, pay attention. This is tricky. What we're going to do, we've got this little half circle, and what I'm going to do is in that, I guess would be the third of the beginning chain 3, in the third chain, which is really kind of sort of, if you can see it there, I'm going to slip stitch in to the third chain of the beginning chain 3, slip stitch. And I'm going to actually cut my yarn now. Give myself a bit of a couple of long tails. And you sort of pull it up, pull it off so it's sort of in a bit of a funny, I don't know if you can really see, it's like in a little cone. A little cone with there's a little gap in there. And I'm going to finish that off. Knot the end so it's all kind of nice and tight and firm. And this is the beak. Now the beak, obviously it's going to look a little bit weird because it's sort of like this, but we're going to sew on with this end and then we're going to finish it with this end. What you can do, and only sort of do it, it sort of depends on whether you want to or not, and whether you feel it's necessary, is sometimes you can get like the teensiest little bit of polyfill. Oh, that's what I forgot to tell you at the beginning. You need polyfill. Is you get a teensy bit of, you need polyfill to stuff your bird. A teensy little bit of polyfill, and if you want, you can kind of, if you feel it needs it, you can kind of get that tiny little bit and stuff it in there, stuff it into this tiny little triangle, just to give it the beak a bit of a fuller look. It's not strictly necessary, but you know, because things. And how we're going to attach it, where we're going to attach it is between is where the bottom of the beak is going to start from between rows 10 and 11, which is, if you remember, it's 11 rows in the head. So row 11 is obviously the bottom row, and row 10 is the next one up. And how I do it is thread on a needle, and And I start by just sort of going, because the bottom of that thread is kind of where the bottom of the beak is, and I sort of insert it into the middle between the two front eyes. I hope you can see that okay without me blaring into the microphone behind the camera. So stick it in there. And it's easy for this to start to go a little bit off kilter. And then I'll just bring that thread back through again, just because this is, it's not because it's like professional or sciencey, it's just because this is what is easier for me. And then I just sort of surface sew it together. You can sew it right in, pull the thread out the other side of the head, but I tend to kind of whip stitch it to the top, to the face of the bird. That's just me. Might not work for you. And you know what? That's okay, as long as those two bits stick together and look kind of bird-like and don't sort of look too kind of plastic surgery Michael Jackson-y. Sorry, Michael. Not good to speak ill of the dead. Let's keep going. Stitch it around. I'm going to try and make sure we still kind of keep it in the middle of his face. Oh, come on. Just trying to find the right thread to get into. Move that, keep that bit out of the way. Don't worry, we'll deal with that in a moment. And let's get that through. Looks like he's got a funny nose. And in the last attaching stitch, is he kind of even? Yeah, let's just think that is for the moment. Draw that through. With this extra, look at that. That looks terrible. It's like he's got an extra long booger. You sew that on. Thread that onto your needle, and you can just insert it into the little whole tip of his nose and through to the other side. Trying to shape his nose so it comes in. So you want it to kind of go in and block that hole off, but also not suck his nose in, his beak in too much. All it is you just then tie a knot on the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish his beak and his eyes and hook his eyes in, and then and fade to black, and then come back and show you his finished head, and then we'll move on to the back. Cool. Alright, hang in there. And we're back. And his head is finished. His eyes are firmly in place with the stitch mark, with the backings on them, my mistake. And his little nose is tied up in there. Beak. He's a bird. That's the head finished for now. So we're going to put that aside and not do anything further to it. We need to make his back now. And the backing I usually make to be the same colour as the head. So like a bird, it sort of has this continual sort of flow through. So once again, we've got head, body. Right, we're getting there, guys. We're nearly there. You're doing fantastic. Oh, knocking the camera around. Yeah. I'm not going to pretend to be a professional camera video tutorial person, because I'm not. It's just you and me sitting down having a cuppa and I'm showing you something. Okay, to make the backing, this is pretty quick. We simply chain 12. Start with a 12 chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And now, starting from the second chain from the hook, you simply single crochet into that chain, and then you single crochet into the remaining chains across. And then this is row 1. Once you've finished row 1, you should have 11, should be 11 stitches or single crochet stitches across. Now we are now going to, at the end of each row, you chain 1, and from rows 2, which we just completed row 1, now rows 2 to 8, all we do is we just single crochet across. So we're just doing, it's going to be a total of 8 row, we're on to row 2 now. You do this up to row 8. It's just single crochet, and I'm due to the magic of camera thingo stuff, or I'm just going to fast forward it. So just do your completed 8 rows, and I'll see you in a fast forwarded second. And just remember, you can pause, rewind, do all that business if you do need, if you want to go back over it again, or just if the fast forward goes too fast for you to catch up, which it probably will, because it's a faster version of my slow manky kind of crocheting here.
La 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 la.
Alright, so we're at the the last part of the 8 rows of row 8. Now, with row 9, previously you would have done a chain 1 and then turn. We're not going to chain 1, just turn, and what we're actually going to do is actually skip the first stitch, and we're going to we're going to directly put our hook into the second stitch and slip stitch, or the second, not this first single crochet gap here, but we're going into the next one, slip stitching into that, and then, so we're basically skipping a stitch, and then chain 1, then we'll single crochet back into that same stitch, and then single crochet across till we get to the second last stitch of this row. So basically we're missing a stitch on each end, on the beginning and at the end, where we're not crocheting into those. So we're reducing by 2 stitches. So we were at 11, and now at the end of this we'll be at 9. So I've skipped that last stitch, and then what we do actually here is we chain 1 and we turn, single crochet into that first stitch, single crochet of the previous row, the same one that we did the chain 1 from, and we just single crochet across, and we'll do this for this row again and the next row. So that will give us a total of, I believe, 11 rows, and it'll be 8 rows of 11 stitches, and 9, 10, 11, then 9, 10, 11 will all be 9 stitches. Whoop, chain 1, and this is the last row of the back part, and then it gets a bit, then we start sewing pieces together, and it gets a little bit fiddly, but that's alright. You and I will do this together. We'll come out with a little birdie each at the end. That'll be cool. What are you going to do with yours? I just kind of have them on the shelf all together, and sometimes I give them to friends or family as gifts. Okay, so this is what this finished piece, I did not finish off. I didn't finish off, but this is what the finished piece will look like. And then I am going to, where's my stitch marker? I'm going to use a stitch marker to stick it in the loop from that our crochet hook was in. Just pull that so we don't lose it. And now we're going to attach stuff together. How do I do this? Oi, this is a bit of fun. Okay, so here's our body. The way this goes is that the back will attach to the back of it, and we kind of we'll work a little bit inside out. So I'm going to turn him inside out, which isn't sort of a big deal. And now we're going to need to keep crocheting with this pink in a little while. But if you put it here like this, dangling out this way, when you want to crochet, you'll kind of it'll be caught inside the work, because we'll be crocheting when the piece is turned right back out the right way. So I kind of, hang on, we've got so many strings here, don't we? We're strung up to the max. So I get this yarn and I pull it, so it's actually going to be tucked up, inside, coming out this part here. Trust me, it'll be, you'll need it to be that way. And then how we actually stitch it together, you might have long ends here, you might not. You might want to use the invisible string, which is, gosh, it was here a minute ago and now it's rolled off the table, I think. And we're going to actually stitch up each side to sew these together. And it's a good idea to try and make sure that when you're stitching them up, each side up together, sorry, so many strings, that you're matching row for row.
La 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 la.
Alright, Groovers, welcome back. Now, I have stitched up the two sides and I've tried my best to make sure that I did it with matching row to row, like there. It's pretty close. Now what we're going to do, because this is inside out, is we're actually going to turn him out the right way, like this. And if you remembered to make sure your yarn was sticking sort of through the inside, which is now the outside, that should all come out right. And you can still see that's where we're going to, I've still got the stitch marker holding that half finished stitch. So now we're going to do the tail. And the way we do it, take the stitch marker out, is, because we've got these two pieces now sewn together, you just pick up that thread again. Of course this is going to be a pain in the back, so we'll move that. There we go. Now it should be stitching evenly across the back here like this. So I'm going to, and we're working in the round, so I'm actually not going to chain one. I'm just going to single crochet directly into the stitch from the previous row. Go 1, 2, this is going to form the tail, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, come on, doesn't want to come through, I've got a thread, there we go, 8, 9, you might end up with 8 or 9 stitches across here depending on how you sewed it. The important thing is we need to get 16 stitches all the way around this opening, because we're going to stitch around the opening to form the tail. So I had 9, so that means I am going to try and create 7 single crochets across this yellow, kind of under his bum. Let's be honest, it's under his bum, isn't it? So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, I'm getting ahead of myself, 5, 6, I'm going to be stretching this, aren't I? I'm going to be a bit cheeky with his sewing of his tail up, 7, so really that means now I've actually done 16 stitches around the opening of where his tail is. So what we're going to do now is we'll single crochet directly into the top of the first stitch, working in the round spiral amigurumi style, and we're going to count and single crochet around, I believe it's, we'll just single crochet around, I think it's 11. So I've just done 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then we're at 11, and now we're going to do an invisible decrease. Remember how we do that. It's sorry if I'm getting too far away for you. So we'll do an invisible decrease by crocheting, picking up and crocheting into the front loop only of the next stitch, and then the front loop only of the stitch after that. Yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, yarn over and pull through these remaining 2 loops on the hook, and then we'll crochet into the remaining 1, 2, 3 stitches. Let's see. 1, 2, oh, come on, 3. It's a bit hard when you're working so small in the round. And now we'll crochet across. This time we're going to crochet again. I believe it's also 11. So we go, and that's now we're working into the top of the first stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So now we're sort of into the back part again. And after crocheting 11, we then we're going to do an invisible decrease. And this is where it starts to get a bit tricky, a bit small and fiddly. Front loop, hook up that front loop again, slide it through the 2 front loops. Whoop, missed it. And then yarn over and slide through the last 2, and then single crochet into the next 2 stitches of the previous round. So yeah, we're getting really small now, aren't we? Look how small that is. And now the next one is we single crochet 8, 1, this is slow fiddly going, 2, don't worry if it's feeling fiddly for you, it's fiddly for me as well, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, turn it around a bit more, 8, and then we do an invisible decrease, front loop, slide through the front loops, yarn over, slide through the 2 remaining loops. Right, so now we're at the back. So now we've got to crochet 3, starting from the next stitch. 1, 2, let's see if I can, oh, I'll just have to backtrack on that. I stuffed up that stitch. So that's 1, 2, and then 3. And then we do another invisible decrease. Front loop, and then front loop, yarn over, front loops, yarn over, 2 loops, and then it's, by this stage we're kind of like where the beginning is, we don't know, we're kind of getting we're kind of getting close to the beginning again. So single crochet, let's count 10. 1, we're sort of at the beginning here. 2, so I'll bring it in. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and now we're going to do one last invisible decrease, front loop, got it. Hopefully that's not too blurry, so sorry if it is. Slip through those 2 front loops, yarn over through the final 2 loops. Now to finish, what we're going to do is simply, to make it so that it's not kind of a jagged edge, we'll just slip stitch into the next stitch, slip stitch, cut off your yarn, and just pull that through. And now what you're going to do is, where if we try and make sure that his whole, this line down the bottom is central, we're going to use the thread on the needle and sew this closed. And then once you've finished sewing it closed, you then, alright, we're back. So now that I've sewn this closed, what we're going to do is attach the head to the body. So to do this, we turn the body inside out like this, and here comes the fun and tricky part. We actually get the head and we turn him upside down like this, and if you can see, my body is facing forward. This is the front of his chest, and we're going to drop the head in. Now the beak, you want to try and make sure that the beak is centered and tucked in, so that we're going to basically stitch around. So where we had that, remember that long thread from the head, we're going to use that to sort of do almost all the way around, but not completely, so we can stuff it. But most importantly is we do need to make sure that the head, the beak is sort of front and center, so we don't end up with a little birdie that's kind of looks like he's looking off to the side. So he's facing frontwards. I'm just sort of trying to check that. It's not too bad, I suppose. You could have him looking off to the left or the right if you want to. Just means he's got a bit of character. I'm going to center it and kind of secure it just with a stitch marker. And I'm just going to hook in to those stitches there at the front, like that. Now I'm going to thread on this yarn onto my needle and thread all the way around, like just simply stitch. I'm actually going to stitch, let's see if you can see this with that. I'm actually going to stitch from the front loop of this body to the back loop of the head. So it's kind of like you're using the 2 outside loops and you're just stitching them together. Is this what's called a whip stitch? I don't know. But it kind of has a really nice finish to it if you do it that way. You just work around every stitch for every stitch, alrighty? Okay, so I've just sewn all the way around, and now I'm just kind of doing a knot to, oh, that was a terrible knot, to knot this bit closed. Got it. There, not that bit closed, but because I only stitched around from here all the way around to here, I've got a gap here. which is great. So we're going to carefully turn him back the right way. Look at this poor little squishy bubba. And turn him back the right way. And now we can put the stuffing in. So I've just got some polyfill here. I'm just going to start stuffing. And also, if there's any strings that are hanging out here, you can actually, that can just go in, they can just get stuffed in as well. We hide them away. That's the leftover thread. I'll stitch up the back with invisible thread when I'm finished. And I just sort of tend to stuff him a little bit at a time to build up the filling, and that means it's easier to kind of make sure he's evenly stuffed. And I like to make sure the body's quite full. Not packed full, but enough to be, I don't know, medium density, I suppose. Alright, I actually had to stop the video and start again because it was, and go away for a little while because, gosh, I was having a hard time threading that invisible yarn onto the invisible thread onto the needle. Oh my gosh. Okay, now we're sewing up the back. You sewing up the back? You just sew it up like this. And we make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, so now that you've just watched me in a bungled way manage to finally sew the back up, it was only because I kept losing the thread through the needle, which was very annoying. And then I'm getting old and I can't see when I've got to thread it again. Oh my gosh. So what I've then done is I got all the little threads on the needle and I sewed them back in and through the body to the other side, and then you kind of squish it close to where you're going to cut it, and then when you pop them back into shape, then the thread just goes and gets sucked back into the body and you don't see it. So there, look at that, he's all sewn up, he's looking fantastic. Do you know what the last thing that we need to do now is we've got two more steps. The first thing we're going to do now is we're going to embroider on some feet onto the bottom. Now where I find where to put his feet is I actually get my pins on my little pin cushion. That's one of my cupcakes, and I find the center point. Remember where we stitched up here and where it's bent? I just kind of put a little pin there just to go, right, that's the middle. Don't worry, doesn't hurt him a bit. Yeah, that's the middle. This is just sort of my way that I kind of figure out where I'm going to go. And then I want to just come across a little bit over here. That's going to be, I guess, the straight across is going to be like the, well, that's not exactly square, is it? Like the base point of his little feet. Get another one, and we go across for his other feet. And we just pop that sort of about there. How, look, it comes, how far that is, look, I'd say that's probably about maybe 6-7 millimeters, but it comes down to you and what sort of feels right for you. Maybe I'll go around here, a bit closer over here. What do you reckon? Does that look pretty even? Yep, great. And the next step too, we got to sort of figure out where we're going to put the top part of his. I just sort of go, well, where's his first middle claw going to go? And this is like, you might not even need to do this. You might be super awesome at making sure things are straight. Instead of me, who's a bit uncoordinated. There we go. And I'll tell you now, I'm pretty crap at embroidering, so won't this be fun? I'll do my best, but this is how I do my my little feet. One of the things that I do is I actually will cut myself a nice generous piece of string. I'll just sort of cut it open like that. Then I'm going to thread it onto a needle, and we've got that darning needle for, there it is. That's my problem. I don't know if it's yours. My problem is I put things down and I can't remember where I put them. Do you do that? Alright. Okay. Right. So, I don't think we need that middle one anymore. And what we want to do, I sort of insert the thread kind of a bit here. Now this is more just because you kind of need to create, remembering where our start is, you kind of need to anchor the thread to the bottom of the bird so that you can start embroidering. And it's sort of, it's not the funnest thing in the world to do, to try and do it so that you can't see it. You might even have like a little knot at the bottom, which kind of shows, oh yeah, this is where the bottom of his little feet are. Looks really cute. You might be super clever and know a tricky way to hide your embroidery knots, your anchoring knots into the thing. I'm going to try and do this. I've hooked around a couple of little threads there. Pulled it into a loop, and I'll just pull that into a little knot like that. That's going to anchor our. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is remembering where our first point here is, because they have usually, you can have 3 or 4 claws. I've got one little guy here who's got 4, and I've got another little guy here who's got 3. Why don't we do 4 today? So I actually just will embroider them through like this. Are you awesome at embroidery? Then don't watch what I'm doing, because I'm crap at it. I can crochet though. That's claw number 2. Kind of give them a bit of space. And claw number 3. And claw number 4 can be just here. Now, because we don't need to come out here because we finished this claw, but we need to go over and do the next claw, I actually, even though I'm doing 4th claw here, I actually send the needle all the way over to this other side where we're going to do this other, start this other claw. Pull that out, and I just pull that through. So now we've got one little claw. Stick it in there. And through. One. Now we don't need that pin anymore. I'll put that away because I'll probably stab myself. 2 claws. There's 3 claws. Look at that. Looks pretty cute, doesn't it? And then 4. Now, to finish this off, well, it's a bit wide, a weird manky. I need to make a knot, so I kind of like hook the needle around some of those threads, like that, till it comes close to a little loop. Stick that in and let it pull closed into a knot. Now my grommety kids are being loud again. Now, because we're going to hide that thread, that end thread in there, I'll just pull that through. I'm going to lasso his tail. Now, watch. Sort of hides in there. There you go. And at this end, I'll just squash him a bit. Cut the thread close, but not too close to the crochet stuff we've been doing. Is there a string here somewhere? Yeah, there is. And it just gets sucked back in. And look, little feet. Hang on, come on, camera. Focus. Do your camera focusing job. Yes, we can kind of see where I knotted it. Let's just ignore that. You'll do a much better job than me. And he's got 2 little feet. There. He's done. This is the body. Now we just have to work on the wings. What do you think? Does yours look like this? I bet it does. You've been following me closely and we're doing it together. Let's see if we can get him. Squish, squish. There you go. And he sits. Ta-da! Let's look at him. Let's get in. Hey buddy, how you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for making me. Let's go play.
No, come back. You need wings. Alrighty.